What is up, guys? Welcome back to another tier list video. This is going to be for Apex Legends Season 14. This is going to be your kind of your average player, ranked, and you can kind of use this for pubs too, but it's mainly going to be like a ranked tier list. I did another one for Season 13 at like the middle of Season 13 if you guys want to check that one out as well. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video. If you guys like these types of videos, leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and share the video. I'd really appreciate it. A lot of really cool legend changes this patch. A few I didn't really agree with balance wise, but most of them were good. And I think the one thing with the game right now is that there is just, you can pretty much play whatever you want, apart from maybe like one or two legends. Everything you want to play right now, being that the first rank split, at least when I'm making this video, is on Kings Canyon. I think like out of all the legends in the game, I think all but maybe like two of them are really viable, which is incredibly good. And even then, if you want to play them, like they can be good if you play them really well. This is mainly because I just think they're overshadowed by a lot of the other legends in the game. Like pretty much a tier list all the way from high tier, like mid tier, silver, all the way up to probably like gold, plat, somewhere around in there. So not really a pro player list either. If it's for pro players, it might be a bit different, but this kind of your average or more like players, type of those players. Starting out with F tier, we got Mirage. What a surprise. They actually buffed Mirage this patch. Mirage actually got some bug fixes to some of his decoys, and they also made it so that his decoys now with Seer are kind of more of a check to Seer. So now if he has like decoys in his ult or his tactical, they are all showing as like actual people, and they get marked in his heartbeat sensor and his tactical and his ult. And then when Valkyrie is in there and either dropping or ulting, it'll also mark decoys as well with that now. There's a few other little things too. I think it's something with Bloodhound. I think his scan will actually mark your clones too now as a person, which it never did before. So I don't know. Even with those little slight quality of life changes, like he just doesn't do enough for a legend, and that's the real problem. He is pretty easily counterable, and he just doesn't do enough, and that's the real thing with Mirage. That's really holding him back, especially on Kings Canyon when it's so third-party heavy. You don't have really any mobility, and your only way of really getting out of a sticky situation is popping a bunch of clones. It's not really the greatest. Up next, we got C tier, which I'm going to have Revenant in C tier. Revenant's supposed to be getting some buffs. I don't know how long he's going to be in C tier. They're going to be slightly reworking or buffing him, at least that's what they said, towards the middle of Season 14, so we'll see how that goes. As of right now, though, the real problem with Revenant is you have to pair him with a team that actually does stuff and actually can use his ult. His ult is so third-party heavy on this map as well for Kings Canyon. You can pop an ult, and then by the time you pop an ult and even go after a team, and you respawn and try to finish a team off, there'll be like 3 or 4 other teams in the area. You just can't, you can't do enough with his ult. And especially when there's so many teams around, you got to set it up perfectly. Otherwise, you're just going to get third-partied even with an ult. So, I don't know. It's just not that good. I think the best thing about him is his tactical and maybe his passive. His ult's pretty bad. It takes a lot to make it work, and it's just not that great right now. Next, we got B tier. In B tier, I have Pathfinder, Lifeline, and Rampart. Start with Pathfinder. Pathfinder's still good. Kings Canyon, he's always pretty good. The ziplines are pretty good. Just kind of your below average legends. Being 100% real. He kind of still doesn't really do that much. His grapple's still on a very hefty cooldown, especially for a movement ability. I think that's the one thing that's really holding him back, and that's why he's in B tier. Lifeline, I think, is actually her better map, especially with third parties. Lifeline allows your team to actually be revived as fast as possible and healed up as fast as possible, which is insanely good on such a third-party heavy map like Kings Canyon. It's incredibly good. I think this is probably her best map, apart from maybe like World's Edge, to actually use her on. Apart from that, she's still kind of underwhelming, and there's just really no reason to play her apart from like Newcastle or even some of the other support legends right now. And then you got Rampart, which is really difficult to play, which is because it's so third-party heavy on Kings Canyon. If you can get a fully set up with her and set up all your walls and lock down an area, she can just mow people down especially if you can take third parties, and if they don't know you're there, you can mow people down with Sheila and stuff and get some really cool kills and stuff that way. But apart from that, you just have constant people third partying you, and it's really difficult to actually fully set up and lock down an area by time either a team rotates into you, that's a third party, or the team you're fighting just dives onto you and ends up either killing you or just attracting a bunch of other teams. So that's why she just really struggles. She's never been really that good on King's Canyon anyway. She's always a little bit better on a lot of the other maps that aren't as third party heavy. Up next, I got A tier. In A tier, I've got Crypto, Loba, Watson, Fuse, Caustic, and Bangalore. Crypto's still really good, being able to scan all the banners around the map. Still really good with EMP. Nothing with Crypto's really changed. He's still insanely good. Kind of just your middle-to-pack average legend. If you know how to play him, he'd probably be even higher in this list, but just talking about your average players that are kind of probably not coordinated as good as most teams in your higher tiers, he's kind of A tier. Loba's still really good. Just being able to pull together a bunch of loot, especially in the late game circle, is where it really matters when you're running through a bunch of ammo. Light ammo, heavy ammo, sniper ammo, energy ammo, which is you really need a lot of. There's a lot of energy weapons, which is always great to have. Just able to pull all that together and be able to swap shields and whatever towards the late game. She's really good. And especially now that the circles actually close a lot earlier too, you have a lot less time to actually loot up at the start of the match, especially if you drop at a farther out of the circle before you rotate in. Loba allows you to loot up a lot faster and be able to rotate it in a lot faster before the first circle starts closing and the first ring starts closing in. So that's another good thing that's kind of buffed her for this patch. Watson really good, still kind of the same old Watson. She also got some quality of life changes. Her fences now work a lot better. I've been playing her, testing her out. Her fences are a lot better. They fixed a lot of the problems with her fences, not being able to place them correctly by doors and stuff and getting blocked by walls randomly. They fixed the majority of those. She is a lot better this patch. And she's pretty damn good on King's Canyon. If you can lock down an area, you can set it up really fast too. Unlike a Rampart where it takes a while to set up fully, Watson, you plop down 2 fences and you got an entire door or whatever you want blocked off. So Fuse still really good. The one thing that Fuse really lacks is mobility. He's just kind of there and he's just kind of annoying, and he can be annoying, especially if you can take him into the late game circles. He kind of is more of an area denial type legend. But the one thing that's really holding him back, especially on this map when there's so many third parties, is mobility. There's a lot of mobile legends right now that are being played that you can just run away from whatever he does or just dive right onto him, and it kind of makes him kind of useless in most times depending on how you play. But he can still be really annoying. That's why I'm putting him in A tier. Caustic's still really good on this map. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to know how to set up properly with your barrels and everything, but you can still put in work with him. Not much with him has changed at all. And then you got Bangalore, which is still really good. Her ult's a lot more effective on this map too, because you can hit like multiple teams, especially if there's a place where a lot of teams are fighting in. You throw down an ult and you just do a lot of damage and stuff that way. Her smoke's pretty damn good, especially on a lot of the choke points on this map. Being able to get you out of situations or allow you to close the gap on stuff. Kind of just your average middle tier legend. Up next, we got A+ tier. We got Gibraltar, Octane, Bloodhound, Wraith, Ash, Mad Maggie, Valkyrie, and Vantage. Let's talk about them. Gibby got some indirect nerfs this patch. They made Mad Maggie pretty much a counter. They kind of made Mad Maggie into a counter for Gibby this patch. So I wouldn't say he's one of the best offensive legends in the game anymore. I think Newcastle is now, but I think he's still insanely good. What it really comes down to is how much Mad Maggie ends up getting played. It's still pretty early in the season, and we still don't really know what her pick rate numbers are going to be. If she's being played a lot, you're not going to see much Gibraltar. If you're not seeing much Mad Maggie, you're going to see a lot more Gibraltar, and so on and so forth. That's kind of what it's going to be. I still think he's going to be really good. He just brings so much to a team that you can't leave, and you can't really get much with a lot of the other legends, even still. Octane always been really good on King's Canyon. The stim is great, the jump pad is great. He's just whatever you want on King's Canyon. Always been good. Bloodhound, not much has changed. Still just a really easy to play scan legend that gives you a lot of info, especially when you're trying to track down teams. A lot of information, which makes it really good on this map when there's so many third parties and a lot of fights going on almost every time of the game. Really good to have. Wraith and Ash kind of do the same thing, but I think both of them are kind of on the same level. It's just kind of a preference of what you want to play on this map. They're both really good, and they both kind of do the same job, just in a little bit different ways. Still really good, though. Both of them are justifiable as a pick if you really want them. Both have really good mobility, really good escape, some utility as well. Mad Maggie, one of my favorite legends. I've been telling you guys, Mad Maggie's been great. They buffed her riot drill, gave it double the speed. You can actually throw it across the map now into people's walls. Like before, it would arc and it would actually fall into the ground. It only had like medium range at most. Now you can throw it all the way across the map and launch it into a wall, which is crazy. Her Wrecking Ball now counters Gibraltar's shield. It completely breaks Gibby's shield. And it has like double duration and double the speed on her pellets that she drops out, so it's really good. And then the EVE 8 also got buffed this patch, which the EVE 8, I wouldn't say it's one of the best guns in the game, but it's a lot better than it was, and it gives her another option to use, so that also kind of buffs her indirectly. So Mad Maggie is great right now, y'all. If you haven't played Mad Maggie yet, go play her. Really, really good. Got Valkyrie. Valkyrie got some heavy nerfs. So Valkyrie has always been one of the best legends in the game. I think right now is probably the first time ever since she's been put into the game that I think Valkyrie right now is not a must-pick legend to have on a team anymore. They nerfed her ult so it doesn't go as high into the air. They nerfed the shit out of her jetpacks, and they nerfed her tactical so it has less explosion radius and has less of a slow, I think. The main thing about her that's making her feel a lot worse than she was is her jetpacks. You can barely fly up into the air, and you just get your survivability is really lacking this patch. That's the main thing with Valkyrie. I feel like this is coming from somebody too that's like main legend is a Valkyrie. She's my bae, and I've been playing the shit out of her ever since she's been put into the game. She's my most played legend. She's the legend I play the most still. And after this patch just went live for Season 14, I don't know about you guys, but I think her survivability is taking a huge nosedive too. I'm constantly getting shot out of the air. I'm struggling to make it to high ground a lot of the time because I'm just so low on booster fuel. They really nerfed her passive with the jets. They really did. I wouldn't say she's like unplayable because she does have really good utility, being able to mark people with her ult and still really good rotation potential. But I don't think she's a must-pick anymore. If you don't want to play Valkyrie anymore, I don't think you have to. You're not really forced to. She's not that good anymore, and she's not like a must-pick. But she still is good. If you know what you're doing, she can still put in work and stuff. It's just a real shame because it was all the nerfs that they gave to Valkyrie wasn't really even for the casual players. It was just mainly for pro players. So thanks, pro players. You guys got another legend that everybody loved and everybody loved to play, and it was one of the funnest legends in the game to play. Heavily nerfed for no reason apart from just because you guys exist and bitching and complaining about it. So thanks, pro players. And then we got Vantage, which is probably the other legend I talk about a lot in this video. At least when I'm recording this, the patch has been out for about 2.5 days now, almost 3 days. I've been playing the absolute shit out of Vantage. I do think she might get some small nerfs, but nothing crazy. On day one, like everybody was playing her. Now people aren't really playing her as much. It just kind of depends on how she goes on into the season, because I think as the season goes on, you're going to see less and less of them being played just because she's a new shiny legend right now. Everyone wants to play her, especially day one. Man, and I hate playing against her because she was on every team. But I think as it goes on, you're going to see her less and less, and that's kind of when we're going to kind of see her. But I do think overall she is an A+ legend. She has a really good early game, especially with her ult. But if you mark somebody early game, they're pretty much, and your team, at least one of your teammates dives onto them and just kills them early game, they can't do anything. 50 damage plus a 15% damage mark early game is pretty much a guaranteed kill. She has a pretty good middle game too with her ult. I think the one thing she kind of falls off at is late game. Just because late game, everybody has so much damage. They have fully kitted weapons, and you also have stuff like Krabers and like rampages and bow checks and stuff that people have at that point in the game. If you poke your head out or if you peek out behind cover long enough, you're going to get Kraber and you're not going to do enough damage to them. They'll one-shot you and you only tick damage on them pretty much. So she does have her pretty early and like a pretty good middle game. I think that's for her ult mainly. I think it kind of falls off a little bit late game, kind of just used mainly for chip damage. It also depends on what team you have, but she has pretty good mobility. I don't know. I think she's an A+ tier, though. I think it comes down to if your team is good. If you have a team that can follow up on your marks and you can land your sniper shots, I think she is A+ tier worthy, and I think that's where you're going to be seeing her. You're going to see her on a lot of teams, and especially the teams that are a lot more coordinated, can play around her all, getting the extra damage and just pretty much collapsing on whoever's marked and killing them, and then kind of just going for the rest of the team. I don't know. Overall, though, really fun legend. I love Vantage. I love the way she plays. She feels really good to play, and she's probably one of my new favorite legends. So success on Respawn's part because she is great. I fucking love her. She's really fun to play. And last but not least, we got S tier. We got Seer, Newcastle, and Horizon. You know, Seer was actually in the game for I don't know how long. It took the pro players playing the shit out of Seer in pro play for people to actually see how Seer is broken, and now everybody's playing him. He's really good on King's Canyon. He just provides so much info, and it is really difficult, especially with his ults, like to get out of his ult. Yeah, you do bring in a lot of third parties on King's Canyon, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter anyways. Even if you don't use your ult, you're probably going to get third party, because if anybody hears gunfire, they're running right towards you, most likely. So it doesn't really matter. Just incredibly good. Even if you can't land your tactical most of the time, having the heartbeat sensor is just so good, and just having his ult, the exhibit. Those things by itself, even if you don't even land the majority of your tacticals, just make them so good. Newcastle got buffed into Oblivion. He got his speed on his res. Movement speed when he's rezzing somebody buffed. He got his castle wall buffed. He got a few other buffs as well. He's crazy. He's the best support legend in the game, and probably the best defensive legend in the game. If you want something that fits that type of playstyle, you pick Newcastle. He's great. And then you got Horizon, which is great. Always been really good on King's Canyon. Nude kind of got nerfed, but I think he's still just as good. Like, I've been seeing Horizon almost every single game, and she's still doing incredibly good. Just being able to get to low to high ground, especially with the gravity lift, and even her ult's still incredibly good. It dies a little bit easier if people focus fire it, but at the same time, it depends on how you throw it out. If you still throw it out pretty safe in an area, and at like a certain angle, or like wherever you're supposed to throw it out, it won't get focus fired as much, and you can still get as much as value out of it as the last patch. So, doesn't really matter. Still just as good. If you guys want a really good mobility-based legend right now, I think Horizon's where it is. Still just good. Really good right now. And there you have it, y'all. There is the tier list for Season 14. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. 100% opinionated. So if you guys want to put your own list down below, if you guys got any critiques on this, anything you guys think should be changed or I did not explain, let me know. Apart from that, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in a future video. I do have some more Apex Legends stuff on the way, and I also do stream Apex as well. So if you're new and you do not want to miss that, subscribe and turn on notifications. And I'll see you guys in a future video.